Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Micro Frontend series. So we can start by recap doing a recap of what we achieved in the previous episode. So what we did the last time was creating a tool that allows you the content of your micro frontend to be directly rendered or injected based on which wording you want to use into the page. This is done by using a simple callback. So here we can see that all it does is it obtains the current root. So actually one step back, it creates a matcher. The matcher then it's matched against the current location of your browser, and then it search if any of the micro frontends it's handling this route. If any of those is doing that, then it will render. So by render, I mean calling the function associated with this route, and it will pass where it has to mount itself and the current params of the route itself. Then it expose a navigate function to the window, and this navigate is going to update the history of the browser so you can navigate back. This is something we are currently not supporting the navigation back, but it's quite easy and we can do it later on. And then it checks if there is a new route, and if there is, it's going to mount it. Also, it's going to mount the previous one. Now, in the micro frontend itself, we create a router. And to create this router, we use the create router utils. And we can see it here more deeply. All it does, it creates a pub sub that stands for publisher subscriber, where the subscriber is the router itself. So you can see here it's subscribing to changes. And the publisher, if we go back to the index, is maproutes. So maproutes then is going to go one step above and pass it to register routes, that is our microfront manager. So when you will change a route, it will publish a new value, and this new value contains the parent and what element to render. And when it's unmounted, it will set both of them to null. Also, this has room for improvements because theoretically you may be able to actually render the same component twice. So in this case, if you pass from app A to app C, it's the same component, so there's no real need for unmounting it. It makes more sense just to change the parameters. But that's an optimization we can do in the future that it's not really demanding now. And yeah, I think this sums up everything that is done. Yes, one last step is the rendering of the app. So the app is rendered with create root, and create root.render, and we can see that it's rendering against a div that is not mounted in the DOM. This means this app is essentially running in the background without being visible. And because it's constantly running, we can pass our own contexts. That means in this case it's a simple context called counter context, but it can be more complex, and it can be a redux store context. So in this way, the Redux store of your app will never be unmounted and will always be working, even in the background. Okay, now going to what we're going to do in this episode. So the next step will be moving one section of one React app into, of one micro frontend into another micro frontend. In this way, our micro frontend A can render a page, but micro frontend B can render a component inside that page. Now I put this line dashed in this way because the idea is to do it indirectly, because you don't have access to the other micro frontend. You don't know that the other micro frontend exists. So what will really happen is he will do this in the real DOM. So this one injects at a page, and this one injects at a section or a component. It's all up to namings. Okay, just wanted to move it. Okay, now that we have a plan, we can start executing it. So let's move back to our code and see how we can execute this. So first we can start by what is exposed. So we have register routes. We can also have register sections. This can essentially be almost identical. So you will have a list of sections. Section callback is the same signature of our root callback. And section is handled by two micro frontends. And this one, it will just, nope, wrong word, no, wrong command again, section. And this will be, again, also global. It's a little bit misleading. So let's rename both of them. One is Mickman routes, the other is Mickman sections. At the end, it's inside the Mickman file that is scoped, so it's not really exposed to the global. I should have thought about that before choosing that name, but that's fine. Now, I don't want to start polluting the root with 1,000 of these. So we have register root, window.register routes, window.register sections. It sounds a little bit too much. So let's just have a window.register micro frontend. This one can simply accept front end. This one can simply accept a list of routes and sections. Now this one is register micro frontend args, and let's create an interface. I want to show the usages. This is very annoying. Okay, so we have routes. This one is the same type of this one. It's a record with root callback. Then we have sections. That is exactly the same thing, but better yet, they're both optionals. So now that they are optional, we can do, if there is any routes, we can call register routes. And if there is any sections, we can register the sections. Okay, now we have our register micro frontend that I misspelled it 3 times in a row. And let's update our window object. So this one is actually, let's just copy the interface, it's going to be easier without cutting it. Okay, let's have the interface. Actually, this was a mistake the last time. It doesn't need to be globally exposed. So we can just well, technically it's a singular argument, but it always sounds better when you call the interface with plural. Okay, now we have it, and let's update both of these. So this one is going to register the micro frontend where it's passing its own routes. Okay, this is done. Okay, let's have a little bit nicer code. And here is what is the index, and here is same. Okay, now both of them are registering correctly, and we can check if we still have the correct rendering here. Yes, we don't, because I didn't start it. One last thing, now you can notice everything is working in the IDE. I fixed it yesterday. Okay, so let's reload. Okay, perfect. Now we can see that app B, it's being rendered, and the same for the other one. This 2, this 3, perfect, it works. Okay, now let's think of what we want to inject somewhere else. So let's say this is app A, and here we can create a second card. I'm just copying the existing uh, code from the default app from Vita. So I'm not using any CSS in particular, but this one already has its own card that all it does is just padding, but it's better than nothing. And yeah, we're not focusing here on having the prettiest micro frontend ever. So here what we want is an extendable section, so we can find a name for it. So here we let's say this is the, okay, let's try to find. So this is the logo. Yeah, this is not working because I added invalid code. Okay, so this is the logos sections, this is the title section, this is the buttons section, and okay, let's call this the logos sections. So this one is the list of logos, and let's have them as up 1 logo and up 2 logo, or let's just have them called logos. So how can we have these logos handle having being replaced or having something extra inside? Actually, that sounds already too complicated. Let's go for something simpler. Additional logo, and in the future we can go for something more complex. So this is reserved space to put an extra logo here that it can be coming from up to. So how could these look like? So what we can see, it's a component for sure. So let's type it as a component. But now the question is, what does it does? How can it get what to render here? So we can start from one assumption, and the first assumption is it needs to pass a reference to itself. So we saw this in the signature. So if we go back to the signature here, we can see the root callback accept a parent that is an HTML element. And this is true also for the section. So we needed to start by obtaining this parent so the children can be rendered inside of it. So let's start by having this create an empty element here. And now we need to obtain this element. So how do we do this in React? We use a ref. So this is an element ref. I wonder if this is smart enough. No, it's not. Okay, so an element ref is just a react.createRef. Now we have a reference to this element after this is rendered. So this must be an HTML element, and is not assignable because that is not assignable to or undefined. Okay, this starts with undefined, that's bad. This is not an accepted value, so let's have a null. Also, null is not an accepted value. Oh, don't tell me it's just that. Okay, let's see. HTML div element. Is it better for you? Yeah, it wants to be very specific, and that's also very annoying, but it is fine. Okay, now we have the element ref that we know it will be available only after rendering. So now if we console log this, we will see that this one, it's always an HTML div. Also, we know for sure this, so we can also put an exclamation mark that in TypeScript it means is not nullable. So let's save. Let's go for the console, and let's reload. Actually, there was no need to reload, I already saw it. Here it is. Rendered twice. Well, that's unnecessary, but not rendered twice, but console logged twice. I think it's doing a double rendering, and usually that happens when there is a React strict somewhere. Yep. Honestly, that's not great for what we are doing to have double renderings. So let's remove strict now mode. Okay, now we have only one. Okay, now going back. Now we have access to the parent. So the next part is passing it. And random annoying has linked comments. So next step is actually using it. So we know what it is. Let's imagine in the next function that it's window dot on render section. Now we have a section name, or better, instead of having positional parameters, let's use name of the section, additional logo. ref to the section, or node. Node sounds better. Perfect. Well, element ref, it's not really changeable, but okay. Now we do have or on function. Now this is obviously going to fail. This doesn't exist. So let's make it exist. On render section, arg on render section args, and it, as always, it returns void. Actually, no, it should not return voids. It should return on mount. We will think about that later. Actually, we can think about that now because it's very simple. So here, we just need to do this. So use effect, what you return on the function of use effect, it's executed when this element that when you're calling use effect, it's unmounted. So now by returning this, I'm returning it on unmount of on render section. So that will be called when this is unmounted. So that's very simple. So we can actually do that. Now let's create this interface. Now we saw already what this interface contains. It contains these two values. So let's add them. Name it's a string and node it's an HTML element. But I'm pretty sure it's going to complain now because we saw a moment ago that it loves complaining. Very interesting. It doesn't. So that's perfect. It knows HTML element. It's HTML div element is assignable to HTML element. So perfect. Okay. Now let's go back to our Mickman and have an extra one. So window dot on render section. This is on render section args. And we already know it needs to return an empty function. An unmount function. So let's do the same thing we did there. First, let's find if there is a section. So we have a name of the section. So section is equal to Mickman sections of name. Now, if the section exists, because this could be undefined, this one doesn't know, but let's make it know this, because it could be accessing. Well, it's not always true. You should know by now. Okay. So we were saying this will be undefined, so we need to check that is not. And in case is not, we can actually render this section. So let's have exactly like the other. We have then unmount. We assign the onMount in the exact same way. Only thing it's, for now we don't have the params. So let's just have them here. Props, extra props that could be passed by the other front end from the other. Okay, Let's go back here. This is an object. Very generic. Let's make this pretty. Okay. Now this is not current value. This is section. Now here we have the node. The node is the root in the case of the other one. So now we have it. Now we just need to do this. If onMount is defined, we call it. Done. This will just render our section. Let's just add this back to the globals because now we updated it with optional props. And now something will happen. So let's see it happening. So in app2, let's register some root. We register the roots, but we can also register the sections. So we do have a section that we named additional logo. Let's see if something is going to happen here. Let's have our callback. Let's have the node here. Let's console log the node and return a function that just says unmounted. This is just to see if stuff works. Mounted, and this is the node. Unmounted when it gets unmounted. And here I think we already removed the console log, so it's perfect. So okay, let's go back. Oh, I already refreshed it myself. Okay, we have a mounted tab here. If we open it, we can see that it's coming from up2. So now if we go to up2, it will be unmounted, and here we see it, unmounted. Perfect. Our callback is getting called correctly for mounting and unmounting. So the next step is doing the same thing we did for the roots, but for the sections. So this is essentially copy-paste. So let's have this copy-paste work. And honestly, we will need to rename some stuff. Okay, this one, it will be called section context. This one will be called sections, plural. Okay, let's render the sections. And let's pass the section context to, whoop, wrong app. So we were saying, let's pass the section context to map roots. They are very identical. That's the beauty of it. Yes, this must be a component. So this is our component for the additional logo. It's just a span that says up2 logo. Now if we go here, now we are in app B. We got a missing bracket. Okay, we are in app B. Let's go to app 1 and see if we have an additional logo. Yes, we do. App2 logo. Now if we open the components, we can see that it doesn't show it because it doesn't have a name. So let's give it a name just for the sake of the component rendered. Beautiful. It still doesn't have a name. Red tree. Let's try to open and close. Maybe it will be smart about it. Okay, we have additional logo here, and we have up to logo that we can see it's inside additional logo, even if this the other app. So we can see this app is not mounted, but the logo is here. So technically we achieved it. Now one piece of the other micro frontend it's here, and when it's a mount, it's gone. Okay, we obtained the next step, rendering a piece of one micro frontend into another micro frontend. Ironically, now it could render into inside itself. That still works, but let's have this as a utility. So this is, we can see it as a section ref. So let's start by create section ref or holder, anything that just says it is here. All it needs is a name. And what it does, it returns a functional component. Now our additional logo can just be create section ref of additional logo. And now we can create all the sections that we want. I mean, or placeholders. Yes, that's a way better name. Let's rename it into placeholder. Create section placeholder. Yes, the name is not, it's not additional logo, it's name. Okay, now we can move it to his own utils function. So same thing we did before. Utils, no, more up. Utils slash create section placeholder dot tsx. Done. Now we have it. And we can also use it in the other app. So both of them can show the additional logo, but you know what, let's show it under the buttons. So let's move back here. Okay, app2 logo is here now. App2 logo is here now. Based on which app it's rendered, it jumps around. Okay, now we can see we have our create section placeholder where we create all the sections that we need, so we can always extend this, grab our own header and everything. So before, now the point is, what is the next step? We can render stuff inside of it, but we can render only one thing. So what happens if multiple things wants to render inside there? That it's more complicated because we will need to create a element for each one of those. Or maybe no. think it will just work. So, you know what? Let's try it. And now this means the sections don't need to throw. They just need to have an array. So this is not a... Well, the only problem is that we know the order will be randomly based on what it's of which micro frontend is loaded first. So that also will need an ordering system. So that's also something that can be done. But let's move out for a moment from there. And let's tackle the problem of the order later on. Let's just stick on with what to do here. So why this is negated? Oh, weird, they never failed. I'm seriously not liking this code. Now this one is more correct. If section in... Wait, that made no sense. Now it makes sense. So if the section is missing, we will just assign an empty array to it. So now we can do dot push and put a callback. Okay, now when this goes to render, we can see that this is actually a list of section of callbacks. So we need a lot of unmounting on unmount is an array of this. So section dot for each callback on unmount dot push the callback. Okay, let's better name this render section. Okay, now on unmount it's always true, and it's a list of things to unmount. I hate when names get too similar to each other. Okay. While you're... Oh yeah, this is gonna be a const because it's never reassigned. Okay. So now it's a list. Let's see if it still works. It still works. So let's have both of them register for this same place. A lot of copy pasting. Again, a lot of copy pasting. Just the final one. I really need to rename this stuff, but okay. Now we should see both of them, and we do. App1 logo and up2 logo. So both of them are appearing. So stuff just gets added there. Well, now this technically should be called additional logos, but it's fine. Okay, now I know where it's coming from. This hide likes adding stuff to my variables. Okay, now we have sections that can come from multiple micro frontends at the same time. But the thing I didn't like here is this. It would be better if the Mickman does this job. So I would say, let's make it do it. So the job is just adding them. So start, will not really start. I mean, it will be ready or at least finished. So let's call it ready. That means there's no more micro frontends to inject, or let's just use a plural. Inject micro frontends, where the list of micro frontends is just a list of functions. Okay, well, let's go for a specific one. So the list of micro frontends, it's just a list of functions that don't accept any parameters and don't return anything in particular because we don't care. So let's see why this. The why, it's so in the main we can just do this. Window.inject micro frontends, and we can just pass a list of imports. Now the rest of the code is gone because we don't need it. It's much prettier. Alright, it must be a function. Okay, now we have them, a list of them. Now the code is way nicer. It's just Mickman itself, the CSS, and a list of stuff to inject. So let's have it. Let's create this because it looks way prettier. Okay, let's copy the signature. Obviously, it doesn't return anything because it doesn't need to. Okay, so let's store how many micro frontends we want to load. It's 0 for now. What is going to become exactly this number? I mean, the length of it. Now that we know how many we want to load, let's just execute all of this. Done. This loads, but this start the injection of the micro frontend. Okay, more correct. Inject. This is injecting it, but we don't have a callback. We need to know when it's done, so we can actually start everything. But we do know. It's when it's registered. So here we can decrease the amount of micro frontends to load. And if it reaches 0, I'm going for, let's go for exactly 0. So start is not called twice. So we can call start here. Let's see if this simplified version works. I mean, it's not simplified, but it is simplified to the end user. Okay, still works. That makes easier for stuff to be moved out, because now our main is just one single function that could be doing anything. It doesn't really need to be importing in this way. It can just inject a tag in the DOM. It could be, create element, and it's a script element that contains the source of WAP1. But for now, let's leave it like this. We are still keeping stuff simple, so there is no real need to do that, but now we know we can. It's now possible to move everything in separate places. And actually we can do that. Let's have a tiered micro frontend. Okay, let's always use the correct version of Node. I just want to be always sure everything is as expected. And the yarn create. Yep, and this one is micro frontend 3. Let's set yarn to use the node linker, and then okay, it needs to be done inside of here. I wonder if it's going to change port. Actually, my bad. Maybe it's better just to run yarn than make some changes to it once we open WebStorm. This will now have a tiered app that it's in a totally different folder when this is done. So I notice Vite doesn't generate a manifest, but let's see the list of assets. Okay, random names, not great. So this is the main, and this is a CSS. We will think about the CSS in the future, but we do need it to generate a manifest, so we know what has been generated. So here, give me a manifest. Set it true, generate.manifest.json, so it's build.manifest. Ah, it's indexing. Okay, let's check it on here then. Yep, build manifest true. Perfect. Let's have it in the other WebStorm. Okay, this will generate a manifest, so we can use it for our imports. And it's not really needed. Again, I've done something that is not fully needed. Okay, let's simplify this. simple h1 app tree. Remove this, remove this, remove this, remove this, remove this. I just want it super simple for now. Let's add the globals. Copy, paste. Perfect, now we have the globals. Let's change the main to work exactly like any of these indexes. We need only the router. We don't need the sections. We need the utils folders in its entirety without a counter context. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. So this is why it should be a library, so I can use it. We don't need this. We don't need. Let's keep it. Maybe we want it in the future. Okay. Roots. Map roots, root context. And this is app C. We don't need app one logo. Okay, I believe we have everything now. This is we loaded the tiered micro frontend. It's just missing the part where it's going to inject itself, but we should obtain it here. Okay, we have a different port, hopefully, 5174. Yeah, different port. Let's just check the source. Search main.tsx. And this one is 74. Okay, I believe this is our file. Yeah. Let's have our app. Import a second app. I mean the third app. So this one, as we said, you can just create a script. Document dot create element. It's a script. The source of the script is the one living in the other port, HTTP. And also, so we need to pass it the type as a module. Yeah. Script.type equal module. And then we can just put it in the header. Document dot head dot append child script. Now we have app C. Let's see if it's going to get injected. Here it is. Counter context provider is not defined. Which app are you? Yeah, my bad. I say we don't need it, but I'm still using it. Okay, it's rendering. So let's add a button to go to the third one. So we can see that there is a lot of apps running in this place. Go to app 3. Well, you first need to go to app 1, so you can go to app 3, but yep. App 3. it's working. As expected, it's popping out from a totally different repository, and I'm pretty sure we have now two Reacts fully working separately. Not going to say anything? No? It doesn't say which track Doom is. It would be nice if this one can point to which Doom is. But yeah, we know there is two Reacts running here. But yeah, we have it. We have three different apps. So you just notice that it didn't work. The back button on navigate. Yes, I need to listen to the back method. I don't fully remember. This is push state, window.onPop state. Really, there is no other way. Window on pop state. Yes, I would like to listen to it. Okay. Let's add the listener. So we can also support the other one. Window.add event listener, pop state. Okay, you should give me an event. Yep. And this event is a pop state event and it should contain the new location. Very fast. And now I just update the doom.location. Okay. We don't need the event. Same thing as before. Okay. Check match. Now execute navigation. Path name is a string. Execute navigation with location.path_name. So let's take the parts that are needed there. You go here with just path name. You go here with new path name. We already have that. Let's just call it a new route. We need to execute it. Perfect. Now we can have this here and we can have this here. Okay, now it should be possible to navigate back and forth. Okay, go to app 3. Okay, we have app 3. New route is not defined on line 59. Okay, because this is called execute navigation. Wrong copy paste. Okay, we have up C. Let's go back. Up A, but there is also up 3. Because up 3, I think is not unmounting itself, but it should. And it was. New root, if new root. Oh god, this should not be here. Double rendering. Okay, go to up 3, go back, up 2, 1, 3, back, 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 forward, forward, forward. Okay, navigation totally works. Apps from other repositories work. Sections works. I think we're done. There's not much left to do. We'll need to think about it, but all can be done now is just put some state, but it's not very useful. I mean, it is useful, but this is essentially done. uh, yeah, I think it works perfectly. I mean, it does its job. Stuff is injected back and forth. Context it's keep. Didn't check if actually JavaScript is loaded in some interesting way. So maybe let's add that. Let's see if it loads the images. So if we go back to U and revert this code, and we have class names, logos. Let's see if they actually injected. Yes, they are. So yeah, we have also support for style sheets and classes and everything. They're not locally scoped. That's a little bit annoying. We should try to see now if they actually loaded. So let's have this rotate faster. So let's start by renaming it because it's not scoping it. And instead of 20 seconds, let's put 2 seconds. I believe it's going to spin very fast. Why are you complaining? This exists? Okay. Reload. Yeah, this is spinning way faster. This is spinning slowly. This is spinning faster. So yeah, CSS is injected correctly. So yeah, all 3 apps are living correctly now. And maybe we can reduce the bundle of the other one, but not really needed. But if you are curious, here it should support the externals. Show the option maybe. Resolve.alias. Do you have externals like Webpack? No. Vita. External library. Yeah, someone already asked this. Okay, it's this plugin. There's not really needed to implement it. It's overkill, but if you're curious how we can avoid having React bundled in every single micro frontend we use, so we can use only one micro frontend, well, this is the solution most likely. This one is giving example of files, but let's actually go to the plugin itself. It's using rollup. Okay, rollup external. Oh, here it is. So yes, here it is. Here you specify some externally required library, and it will not be imported if you do it in the correct way. Output.globals, yes, external jQuery, and the globals here, it says jQuery can be found in this variable. So by adding these two, he will search React in the window. So this one can just expose React in the window. So we can simply do this, import React from React, and do window.react equal React. And now it's exposed to the window. So if we go back to here, we can see React in the window. Yep. And if we go here and we change the configuration, it will load it from the window. It would be interesting to know how Vita can access this, can pass this to rollup, because this doesn't look like there is anything here. Okay, Vita external globals. Yeah, here it is. So we can go back to this one, add the library. Did I copy wrong? Add the library. Add the code for it. Yeah, and here it's how it transforms it, as expected. Okay, now when I go into do yarn dev, I expect this to say React DOM is not defined in the window. So that's it. Yep, cannot read properties of undefined. So let's just add it in the other one. Just double checking the name. Oh, it's iterative React DOM. Yep. And now it will be the same React in both of them. See, it's working. But the bundle got smaller. We can actually see that if we do yarn build with both of the reacts outside of the bundle, yep, here is one. Let's put them back in and let's build again. Yeah, it's already getting bigger. Here we can see that our main index file just grew by 140 kilobytes. So by splitting into micro frontends, as long as you leave React aside, you don't have much to worry. We can ignore these first two because you're not going to deploy them. And these three are 7 kilobytes, and gzipped is just 4 kilobytes. So it's nearly nothing. So yeah, I think this should cover everything. And if you have any question, you can write it in the chat. I will try to answer, or if you have any extra things you want to see covered in these micro frontends, just let me know. I will add it. Just one comment for why later when I'm going to commit this. This is just so this code can be run because I'm publishing to GitHub only one project instead of two. Okay, so we have sections, so we obtained this, and on top of that, we obtained this, where we have window.react, that it's passed down to the two React apps, and this one, it's coming from the micro frontend manager. Why the font is so small? Let's copy paste this. Yeah, and you are slightly outside of the loop. Yeah, frontend manager is exposing window.react. It's used by the two React apps that are injecting into the page in reality through the micro frontend manager. But if I put the arrows in the other way, it looks so weird. Okay, actually, maybe it's not. Maybe it will be understandable. Text, inject content, inject, yes, micro, correct, my inject current, micro front, no, inject the correct micro frontends, plural. Okay, reduce, you go here, over here. Okay, everything can be moved one step back. Yeah, I'm definitely falling on a rabbit hole now. Because the idea is you are the one doing this. But man, this is starting to look ugly. This one, it's actually through the micro frontend manager. And this one goes here. So yeah, we obtained some very ugly looking graph just to make it more correct. But yeah, this is essentially what is the real flow of the data. The two React apps are being communicating with a micro frontend manager and not really with a page, but it is what it is. So we got on the final stage. Everything is working. You can find the code on this repo, Mario91 Bigman. And I think this series is over, and 2 episodes were enough, unless you drop me a comment and there is anything extra you would like to see covered. I was planning to do 1 hour and a half, but there's really no need. There's nothing left to do. So see you on the next stream, most likely Monday. I will update it in the channel, and we can go back to React or start a new series about A/B testing. So, yeah, have a good weekend.